Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you are all well. It's Sunday, baby. It's Sunday. I don't know whether you guys have to do it in the US. We do it here in the UK, where the clocks go back an hour. I'm not sure if all of the clocks have gone back. You know when you've got about 30 clocks in the house and you're not sure which one to fully trust? I'm pretty sure the phones are right. So I think it's about 7:51 in the AM. Anyway, you're looking amazing, by the way. And look, I'm doing this video because a lot of people have requested me to look at two videos. And that was the Gray Hughes video, which looks at the route of Brian Kohberger, the boom video of that route, and Get a Clues video, which he released a day ago, possibly 2 days ago, depending on, I have no clue. It's his most recent video, I believe, but it's the Idaho for the Chrysler 300 video. And for some of you, you're going to have seen this video. For some of you, you certainly haven't seen this video. But what am I talking about? And what is Streak talking about? Streak is the creator who does the Get a Clue channel, by the way. Now, you will notice if you go over to Get a Clue's videos, his videos have the comments turned off. This is because, as with my videos when I cover the Idaho 4 case, and pretty much anybody who is sort of against the Brian Kohberger complete balls deep in him being guilty narrative, they get a massive amount of trolls. You know, my comment section, by the way, works in this way. Like, a lot of you will reach out and you'll be like, why did you remove my comment? Why did you remove? I don't remove anyone's comment. The only time I remove a comment is if the comments start to become personal in nature. So they're name calling, or they're just being flat out rude against an individual, whether that be myself or someone else in the comments, and when their comment starts to incite a massive argument, there is no point. People may have differences of opinion, you may not agree with everything we say, and that's absolutely fine, because at the end of the day, none of us know anything. When I do a video, it's based on my thoughts and feelings at any given time, and my thoughts and feelings are subject to change when I become aware of different pieces of information, much like yourself. But some people's resilience to that isn't as much as others. And, you know, like I say, my comment section, a lot of stuff is filtered out by YouTube. It gets held for review, and I don't personally go through the held for review comments, because if I did, I wouldn't have time to do anything else. So the comments that are removed are likely being put into review, or unless you're just being a dick, and then I'll remove them. But differences of opinion, I welcome differences of opinion, and any engagement on a video on the channel is good for the channel, so I invite it. But some people, they don't have time for it. They're not in this for, you know, for the long haul, so to speak. They're in here to raise awareness of things that they find. And Streak is one of these people who, for a long time, and he doesn't always agree with me, and I don't always agree with him 100%. And he said some shit things about me, and, you know, I look beyond that because I look at the information that people are giving out and whether there is relevance to it. And this is something that I have been looking at for the last sort of 3 or 4 hours, going over it and seeing whether I feel that there is something in it worth discussing. And I do feel that there is. Now, what I will firstly say is this. We know that the white Hyundai Elantra, in terms of how it was addressed in the documentation, was suspect vehicle 1, which in my eyes always pointed to the fact that there was other suspect vehicles. And we know that there was other vehicles in this area. You only have to look at the Banfield footage, you only have to look at the Linda Lane footage to understand that this wasn't a quiet night. It weren't like the white Hyundai Elantra, if indeed it was the white Hyundai Elantra, was the only car driving around. That's simply not true. And, you know, the hustle and bustle of this small area seemed to be throughout the night. You know, there was movement, there was cars. So it only makes sense that if law enforcement got hold of CCTV, then did they find the other vehicles? And Streak, in this video, he does state, the issue he has here is, did they find this car? Did they find who drove it? And if they found the car and found who drove it, did they truly get cleared? You know, and when we say cleared, we know, don't we? We know that so many questions came about when it was this, how did people become cleared so quickly? And what makes someone clear? You know, how do you clear certain people? What, you ask them what they were doing, and they tell you, and they say, oh yeah, my mate Dave or my mate Beth, she can explain exactly where I was. And they go to them and say, so was this person? Yeah, he was there. I don't understand. And when the people like Jack Showalter, for instance, and Loach and co, I wonder, when you hear that there was things going on, the fights that were going on, the issues that were being had, and then you hear that they're cleared, and you think to yourself, well, how were you cleared? What really got you cleared? What, because a friend corroborated your story? I don't get it. And is that sufficient? Because again, you have to work on the presumption of innocence. Even if you don't believe it and you do think Brian Kohberger done it, you still rarely have to consider the alternative in the event that it just wasn't him. Because what makes it him? What makes this crime actually Brian Kohberger? So when you hear about phone pings, there isn't a phone ping that pings in this area that places him there. The only thing that we have in terms of phone data is that seemingly Brian Kohberger's phone around this time was switched off. But then you have to consider yourself thinking, so what makes the crime definitely happening at this time? How do we know it didn't happen later? How do we know it didn't happen earlier? Do you see what I mean? We're conditioned to be given certain pieces of information that therefore concretes specific elements of this case, such as the crime happens at a specific time because we see a white Hyundai Elantra and we have an eyewitness statement saying that they saw someone in their property at a certain time and leave. But that doesn't mean that the crime actually happened that time, unless Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen absolutely heard something. They heard the crime, they heard the murders, they checked their time and checked their watches to see what time it was when they heard what was going on, and then ongoing they decided not to take any further action for multiple hours. And this is something that even Cara Northington brought up, Xana's mum, this 8 hours. And in the live later on tonight, we'll be discussing more about that. But for now, let's just reel it in and we'll talk about this car. So what Streak has done in this video, and if I just bring this up on the screen. So this is Idaho 4, the Chrysler 300. That's the video. So what we've got is, I've moved it here, haven't I? So if I pull this down, so on the screen here, in this corner to the left, is this car. Now, it seems to be that on the Linda Lane footage, this car here is not a Hyundai Elantra. Now, what Streak is saying is that car is actually a Chrysler 300, and you can tell by looking at the windows, the way in which they contour down the side of the vehicle. And the link to this video will be in the description of this video, because I've looked at it and I've looked at it and I've looked at it, and I have to agree. When you're looking at how the car that they're claiming is the white Hyundai Elantra passes, if you compare the way that a Hyundai Elantra's windows contour down the side of the vehicle against a Chrysler 300, they are very, very different. And it does seem that this car is the car that makes several passes. And what you're seeing in this picture here, if I just bring it up one more time, is at 6:58 a.m. This is when this car has basically been missing from the area for approximately 3 hours and is returning at 6:58 a.m. So if you'd have clicked on that at 6:59, you'd have missed it. And the question was, where's this car? If this was the same car, which I've looked at it and I've looked at it and I've looked at it, and it's certainly plausible that that is indeed the same car, then why is that car passing at this time of the morning around the times of the crime? And where does it go for 3 hours? And doesn't it just seem very, very strange that the last time you see this car is around 7 a.m. in the morning? And we know that there's just this long period of time where things are not happening in terms of law enforcement being called and all this type of business. There's a load of missing time. There's a load of missing time on something was going on during that time. I don't care what anybody says. The delay in calling 911, I struggle to believe that people were just sleeping. They saw what they saw, they heard what they heard, and they just went to bed and went to sleep. I struggle with that. I can't consolidate that in my mind how it would have happened. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, like I say, we know that there was likely suspect vehicle 1, suspect vehicle 2, whatever. There was multiple suspects, and we can only guess that law enforcement tracked these cars, because if you go and watch this video, which I do say do, you'll see that this is seemingly a local car. There was also shown on that video there was other Hyundai Elantras in this area as well. And even when we saw the videos of the white Hyundai Elantra, we questioned whether that was white or whether it was silver. And we've heard Brent Kopacker potentially had a silver Hyundai Elantra. It's just bizarre. But this is about this white Chrysler 300 and the fact that that actually looks to be more fitting in with what the car looks like on the Linda Lane footage. The windows and the way that these windows contour on the car. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not saying that I'm 100% right. I'm not saying that Street's 100% right. I'm just saying that loads of people asked. Street has looked at this. We can see that there is a 300 Chrysler in the area. We can see that on the Grey Hughes video. And this Linda Lane footage, if you look at the windows and do your own, look at it and tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that looks, and we've always said, just because Brian Koberger's car was caught on a camera somewhere, don't allow yourself to be conditioned to believe that because it appears on one camera, it therefore must be his on every camera, because it's not the case. Again, it's this conditioning to believe, right, the murder of these poor students drove a white Hyundai Elantra. Brian Koberger drives a white Hyundai Elantra. That is conditioning. We don't know that. That's not proven. It's not gone through the court system. There hasn't been any more information shown to us, the public. So later on down the line, they may be able to completely corroborate their story of how they believe this is Brian Koberger's vehicle, but we haven't seen it. And apparently neither has the defence team, or they wouldn't have made their statements around the fact that there doesn't seem to be any connection still between Brian Koberger and the victims. But like I say, you asked for it, I gave you it. I do believe that the car that we're seeing on Linda Lane, there's a huge chance that is not a white Hyundai Elantra. It is in fact a Chrysler 300. Let me know down below what you think, and I'll catch you all in the next one.